What's going on, guys? Welcome to the first video on this channel in regards to Blender tutorials. This will be a really short one. I just want to run through like the basics of Blender for you guys that we can practice a little bit before we get to the next step, which will be modeling a body kit for a car. When you first start up Blender, this is what it looks like. You'll get a default cube, you get a camera and this light. For the time being, you can get rid of the camera. We'll get rid of the light as well. We don't need the light right now. So you've got this default cube and there's this cursor in the middle, which we can ignore for the time being. We don't need to worry about that. Now, the basic navigation buttons are mouse button, the mouse wheel, you click it down, click it in, and you move around. You can rotate around the object. Holding shift and using the mouse button, middle mouse button again, you can pan around. And then if you hold control and middle mouse and drag up and down, you can zoom in. Now this is for like precise zooms, but you can also actually use your scroll wheel to zoom in and out. Now in Blender, to actually edit the geometry, as we call it, you need to go into edit mode, and to go into that particular mode you need to click on the object first, make sure there's this yellow border around it, hit tab, and it takes you into this screen here. Now you'll see there's some dots, they're called vertices, and you've got these edges, and then you've got the polygon faces, which are made up of square shapes, or quads as they call them. Now if you want to, obviously now when it's like this shaded, it means it's selected, so we're going to click off there for the time being, and you'll notice at the top here you've got three different little options. Now the first one is vertex select, which is for the vertices. Alright, you can click drag to select, you can just individually select them, or you can even hold shift and it'll select that way, so you could move around the object and select like that, whatnot. The next one is edges. You can press 2 on the keyboard. You'll see it changes. And you can now select the edges. And the same sort of stuff applies in terms of like selection. So you can click, drag, and you can shift click and all that kind of stuff. The third one is faces. You can click on it or you can press 3. So 1, 2, and 3 is the hotkeys for those particular selections. So 1 being vertex, 2 being edges, and 3 being faces. And obviously you can select faces, same thing goes and whatnot. Now, before we continue, there's one thing I want to point out to you guys. When you click drag select, in other software, if you've used like Maya before, I'm not sure about 3ds Max, I've never really used it, but I know in Maya, usually if you click drag select, it actually selects the faces on the other side. Same thing goes with like vertices and things like that. In Blender, it's a bit different. It doesn't do it, as you can see. Unless if you go up here to the top right, okay, there's a show X-ray button in between the render view options and this overlay box. If you click on that, you'll see it goes into this mode here, and that's X-ray mode. There's little dots in the middle of the faces, and that's because we're in face select. That just lets you easily select faces, so like you're not accidentally selecting the wrong face. You can actually choose the back face because it's that dot, or choose face down here because it's that dot there. And that's how you are able to select faces behind other faces. So you could literally go and select all of it. Same thing goes with the vertices. Let's say if you want to select the vertice down here and this one, you could, or all the bottom vertices. Or let's say if you're in another view, you can do that and it selects the top ones, and even though they're overlapping. I just wanted to give you guys that quick tip. Anyway, so this is how you can go about, creating your own geometry in a way. Now, if you click on, let's say we'll use an edge for this example. If you click on the edge and you press G is for the move, and you move your mouse around, you'll see that you can actually manipulate this edge however you like. So you could bring it in or bring it up here. You can create some funky shapes and whatnot. And to reset it, let's say if you make a mistake and you've accidentally done this, you drag the wrong edge, you just right click. It'll automatically go back to where it was. So let's say if you wanted to, create a a shape that has a top which is wider than the bottom, like let's say a cup, right? Or like a square cup for this example. What you could do is you can actually, so what we'll do is we'll go and click X axis view. You'll see you've got this line up, a blue one, which is your Z axis, and then a green one, which is your Y axis. That's basically telling you that you can move up along that axis and then across along this axis. Let's say if we chose these vertices here, making sure that we have X-ray mode on, so that way we can select the overlapping one behind, and we press G to move and press Y, you can actually drag it along a straight line. And you can leave that one there and do the same here, G, Y, and go that way. Obviously it's not proportionate. Obviously it's not proportionate, but that doesn't matter right now. We're just going to practice. So that's one way of moving vertices. If you wanted to, let's say, have that exactly bang on the right size, you could do it a different way. And in this case, if you select all those and you press S for scale, which is an easy one to remember because obviously the first letter of scale is S, and then you drag, you can see that it's resizing. Okay. Now the resize depends on what the pivot point is. In this case, it's smack bang in the middle of that polygon, I believe. So if I change view now, you'll see it's actually evenly scaled it out. So you've created like a pot plant in a way, you know what I mean? Let's say if you wanted it to be only one direction, if you wanted it to be longer on one particular side, you could just do the same thing, S and then Y, and then scale along the Y axis. Or while you're already in this, you can just hit X and it'll switch. Or in this case, we can't do Z because obviously it's vertical and these are completely flat right now. So that's how you can manipulate that. You can even rotate. We'll talk about rotation. So if you just selected this whole thing, you can do this with whatever. You can do this with just these vertices or that one. As long as you have more than one selected, you can rotate like along an axis. If you have just that selected, you'll see the rotation does nothing. If you have two selected, you can actually freely rotate that however you like. So you can rotate this object almost any direction you want. And that's dependent also on what view you're looking. So if you're looking this view, you can only rotate this way. If you're looking this view, you can only rotate this way. Looking at that view, you can only rotate this way. And so that's how the rotate tool works. But you can also do the same thing if you're looking at it and you're like, oh wow, why can't I rotate it 90 degrees so that way it's on its side? Well, if you just press X or whatever axis you want, you can do that. And it now rotates onto its side. Anyway, I think we've covered quite a bit here. I was going to give you guys something to do to practice, but I'll leave it for this time. Just get into Blender, load the default cube and just play around with the vertices right now. You can do some cool little things with cubes. And if you look online, there's a lot of different things you can make. And we're going to learn about like extruding edges and things like that in another video. But I just wanted to quickly, run you guys through how to navigate this. But yeah, the next video I'll probably do probably next week on Tuesday. I'll upload it on Wednesday. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the little short tutorial, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.